You all are responsible ultimately for yourself. Okay? And that's part of the problem, is that you don't want to own. See, some horrible thing happened to you when you were younger, and then you, at some point, refuse to own the fact that you have continued to make choices because of that instead of letting it go and making choices that could be different. And you want to keep blaming, well, I'm all screwed up because of them. Well, no, you were screwed up because of them. You remain screwed up because of you. I know that's going to hurt somebody. I'm sorry. Okay, you were damaged and screwed up in your life because of what happened. If it's been many, many years, if you're still screwed up about it, it's because of you. You have not done what needs to be done to stop allowing that to keep damaging you now. How do I know this? Because I've read hundreds of stories or listened to people who give testimony for every kind of possible awful, abusive, whatever, who overcame all that to do amazing things because they refused to allow it to define them. Okay? Even though it did define them at the time and for a period of time. And it's reasonable, if it was awful and abusive, to have a period of time where it takes to process and to find help and to work through. But if what happened to you 30 and 40 years ago, at what point do you get to start owning your choices? Okay, I'll give you an example, all right? My personal example, okay? Because I got really tired of being accused of this a few years back. You know, I went on a journey in 2003, and that's been out there in public, where in that journey, and I'll tell the story once, another point, but in that journey I ended up leaving ministry. The journey had nothing to do with anything but spiritual stuff. It had to do with the fact that this book, which I had been reading, had proven to be the deeper, we looked into it, messed around with by man having his hands on it, okay? And in that journey, I eventually put the New Testament up on the shelf, and then eventually put the Old Testament up on the shelf, because there was too many things that I didn't know what to do with, making the story short. Now, because I was doing it in public, I was a teacher, there were others that followed me in the journey, so to speak. They saw things that I saw, had the same type of problems, and they went and eventually left these things behind to a certain degree. Now, I was accused and blamed all these years for a lot of people having left, quote unquote, Yeshua in belief. That's my fault. Now, I do have a responsibility as a teacher. I have a double responsibility that people were listening to me. But at some point, they're going to be responsible for the choices they made. I never made them make any choices. And the question that I want to ask all of you, at what point is it your choice that's really being judged here, not the influence of somebody else? Where do you start having to own your choices? So yes, I own that, yes, I had an influential position as I do now. And I own that double judgment of teacher. I readily accept that he put me through that journey for a reason, etc. That's a long story. We'll talk about it in a testimony teaching. But the point is, after being out for 10 years, okay, for 7 full years, coming back after in the 8th year of new beginnings, I came back. Others came back. Most people didn't. But they have to own that choice. If you're going to let other people think for you and make decisions for you, etc., well, that's your choice. And so this comes to the same thing, that I can't give a testimony about you that undermines or changes the fact that underneath whatever I saw about you, there was a bunch of dead men's bones or something going on inside there that I didn't know, but he knows. My testimony isn't going to override that if I'm there to advocate for you. There's nothing I can say that he doesn't already know. The most hopefully empowering thing that I can tell you is that you are primarily responsible for you. I've said this before. I think we made a little thing of it, okay? You are primarily responsible for you and what you do, and you on Judgment Day will be judged based on what you chose to do or not do. You will not be able to say, but my mother, but my father, but this person, but my teacher. That's only going to fly so far. Now, while you were under the teacher, if you submitted to that teacher because you vetted that teacher and all that stuff, yes, that will then go on the teacher. If the teacher was wrong, that will go on the teacher. But once you've left that teacher, if you realize that teacher was wrong, look, You're not going to be judged and have an excuse, well, I was Catholic or I was Baptist, I was Pentecostal, I was this or that or whatever it is. You're going to be judged based on what you know now. Okay? And some of you, because of your journey through Christianity, you were probably all of those. Because a lot of you went through 5 or 6 different things. And you're not going to be held against you, whatever it is that was before. The past is going to be, where did you end up? What are your beliefs? What are your feelings now? Where are you now? And do you own that? Own your choices.